Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. I got a chance today to work on a reel that Bobby sent me a little while ago. Bobby's out in Tennessee. And this is a Sportcast by Shakespeare. And it has a model number on it, EJ. And EJ, Shakespeare used their model codes to signify dates. And the E was from 6 and the J from 2. This reel was made in 1962. It's kind of a unique reel. It's an old style bait caster with the level one. It sort of looks like the a lot of the other ones that they have, but this one has a push button for free spool release. And then when you trip it back, it comes out and allows you to, the drag is off here, but it allows you to continue and pick this up. Well, we're going to take this reel apart. We'll show you how it's made. We're kind of curious about the trip button there, so I wanted to learn a little bit more there. How the drag works and so on. And we'll see what we can do to make this reel shiny and relatively new. Otherwise, it seems to be working okay. And we're going to get started. We'll get started by removing those exterior pieces. As I do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you do subscribe to my channel, please use the notification button. That'll enable you to see what I'm posting, when I'm posting, and you'll be able to make a determination as to whether that's something you would like to watch. All right, there's a nut here. This is before metric, so this is a 7/16 nut, and it should be, you should be able to remove this, break it off, and this is a good place to tell you right here, right now, take pictures, because as you start removing pieces and parts, this can get squirrely, and if you're relying on your memory, well, that may not be good enough to solve the rebuild of the reel. All right, we're going to take that off. Here's your drag. And then we have that top cap. And I'm going to clean these. A lot of what you want to do here as you're servicing a reel is you want to clean it. You want to get rid of the old dirts and greases and the like. And this is a good place to do this before you put them into an organization for managing your pieces and parts that you take off. In my case, I use a parts tray. I like to put it right in there. And for the most part, I like to do as much as I can. Here's the examples here with that stack. As much as I can to keep those sub-assemblies together, because you never know, as you're trying to trust your memory, whether your memory's good enough to be trusted. So this is the top set right next to the nut that I took off. Again, another picture. Underneath the handle would come that washer, and then we have a star adjuster here. Bring that back up. And then I think we're going to have to find out what this is. I'm not sure if this is an oil port or if it's actually holding this mechanism. We're going to find out after we take the main gear off. So we're going to, and I tried to search for a schematic online to no avail. So I'm kind of flying blind by this, and this is where pictures help. So use your camera, use your cell phone, use your digital camera. Like I'm doing a video here, I'm using it that way. And all of them will tell us a little bit more in terms of how to unwrap the mystery. Well, you need to use a micro screwdriver to remove this from the side plate now. And there's 4 screws. I'm going to take these off and I'm going to lay them down on my bench to make sure that all of those screws are the same size. If you're having any trouble removing these, stop, use some penetrating oil, and use that to loosen whatever dirt, debris, or whatever may be causing those things to stick. And if these were used in a saltwater environment, well, you're a little bit out of luck if the salt is corroded in and cause that to kind of rot into the case. You may risk breaking off that. Well, I took the 4 screws out. They're all the same screws. And place those into a corner. And we should be able to remove that side plate now. Wow, this is really neat. It's a big nylon gear. Nylon gears became popular right after World War II, actually. And there's not a lot going on here. There's a lot of dirt and debris on this little case here. There's a little shim there. So I'm going to take those 2 shims off the post. Those go on these 2 posts. Again, take the pictures so that you know where you are. We can remove the spool. And now we want to clean that case. Still a little bit curious how that main drive is going. But I'm not sure that we need to do anything with that main drive because the gearing is separate from it, and the gear is really what you need to pay attention to. That's the one that needs to be cleaned and re-lubed. And with a nylon gear, well, it's almost self-lubricating, so we'll see what this brings. I'm just going to give this a little bit of a bath in a penetrating oil and use a paper towel for the most part here to see if I can't bring it off that way. Usually if you can turn this to one side or the other, you know, way over on this side. Oh, we can't. Let's see if that case, nope, nothing's moving easily here. That would be too easy. We may have to service this one in place. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to just move that over to the side. We'll do the same thing here. I know what we can do. We can take this hall carrier off. There's a little screw that holds that on. It's a little clamp. Again, be very careful with these screws. You lose these and you're done. Take that, put that in a separate corner. There's a little lid here. And next, I should be able to remove the pawl and the carrier all at once now. There's your pawl and carrier. Now I should be able to pull this out, which is a good thing because it's all corroded. And the arm. And well, we'll just continue doing some of the cleaning here. The main purpose of servicing your reel is to clean it, to inspect the pieces and parts, to make sure that everything is as it is, get rid of the old greases and dirts, and well, just come on back and put it back together with fresh grease and oil, and that generally keeps these reels running for a long time to come. So if you're working on one of these old reels, just be careful. Again, we've mentioned that the parts aren't going to be around. This reel is 65 years old now, something like that, 60 years old, it is 60, and well, you're not going to find the pieces and parts. And this one's a relatively rare reel. You see the direct drive one that kind of looks similar, doesn't have that free spool release mechanism, but it does for the most part have everything else, shape and the like. And well, if you're working on one of those, be careful with the pieces and parts that you do remove, and be careful to note the positions of them, the orientations, and how they come together, or how they came apart, for that matter, because they would be very helpful to you in the reinstall time frame. Well, this has got an aluminum case on it, as best I can tell, and there's just some of this is varnished. There's not much you can do with that. It stained the case. We're going to do our best. In this case, I've moved up to a 4.0 steel wool. It's slightly aggressive. It's a ultra fine steel wool. It's the least abrasive of the steel wools that you will find. But in cases like this, well, that may be what you need to get this to work, get it to be cleaned. All right, everything looks clean there. This has got greening on it. I don't know what that's all about. It would be unusual for it to be a green case, but you know what? It's green. How do you like that? It's not nylon, it's metal, and it's cleaned. When you do this, use your paper towels to clean all of those inserts, making sure that when you do that, that it is nice and crisp, and that, well, all those little channels are cleared out. If you have any question at all, take a bristle brush This can be a toothbrush. In this case, it's just one of these dollar store kind of hard brushes. They generally will come with a steel metal brush and a bristle brush and a brass brush. And when you do that, make sure that you clean all those channels. Otherwise, you're going to have some difficulty in making sure that that works. If you didn't take a picture before, well, you're going to have to trust your judgment, but this is the way it goes. This one goes towards the side wall. There is a stud on this back one here. Just a drop of oil in that little cavity there. We're going to bring this through. Now, to bring this through, you want to do two things. You want to bring this over. Then you can bring it through. And you're going to need to seat that into the two pieces. One seats into the side wall here. The other seats into the groove here. And then, of course, we still don't have that pawl back in, so we're going to do that right now. We'll grab the pawl. I don't know what caused that greening. Make sure you clean the pawl. You want to make sure that the teeth on the pawl are okay and that any dirt, and you can see the buildup of the dirt here on the shoulders. You want to make sure that all of that goes away. Otherwise, that'll get jammed into the tracks and it won't operate properly. This is probably the number one failure when it comes to working on the older reels, is the pawl breaks and you can't get a replacement. Okay. Do that. We'll bring the carrier over now. We're going to need to turn the line guide here. Make sure that we seat that pawl before we go any further. Okay, now I got it seated. I'm just turning, making sure that it's in one of those grooves. That's where the teeth ride. We'll come over and we'll do this now. Go into my parts tray for that little screw. I'm going to look for an assist here. And what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of grease onto this micro driver. See if I can't use that to hold the screw while I try to mount it. There we go. All right, we're in good position with that. All right, the spool itself, you just want to check. I know Bobby's usually pretty good about eliminating this stuff. We've got what appears to be original braid on there, so I'm just going to leave that. I'm not sure if he's interested in it from a historical perspective. We're going to leave that line and leave that decision to him. But what I am going to do is put a rubber band on that, because a lot of times as you go to reinstall this spool into the reel, that becomes loose. You can see it's loose already. And if it comes loose, well, we run into trouble with the mounting of it. Do see there's a little bit more here. I think this varnish is just here to stay. But I'm going to try one more time. Yeah, that's about as cleaned up as we're going to be able to get this, unfortunately, but we did try. All right. A little bit of grease into the back where the spool is going to land. That's a bushing. Make sure that your click mechanism is off. This is the click side of the reel. We're going to bring that in. And we can install the spool now. And make sure that it's sitting flush against that side case. This is nylon. You don't need to lubricate nylon. And this main drive is actually kind of attached to the line gear and then interfaces with the spool gear. Again, nylon. You can put some oil on there, but you don't need to put grease on there. See if we can't get that lined up and in. Here we go. Got that down? If you want to put a little bit of oil in it, you can do that. And on this side, this is the push button release. So that's going to push in. We'll show you how that works. Push in like that. And then when this comes around, there's a trip mechanism on the back collar here that's going to push that out like that. So I'm not going to remove that. You don't need to. There's no gearing or anything in there. This one's turning free and easy. I suspect the big break on this one would be you've got a circular ring that goes all the way around here and in. This operates much like the trip mechanisms on a closed face spinning wheel. It's going to be pushed out, then it's going to grab a groove, and then when you go to turn it, it's going to come off that chassis and come back out of that groove by working backwards. All right, that's pretty straightforward there. I'm going to leave that alone. And we'll just clean the inner case. There's some dirt in there. Been around a long time. So I use the cotton swabs. I use some steel wool you saw before. I use a kitchen scrubby with some reel cleaner on it. Rod and reel cleaner. We can do that on the outer case here. And interestingly enough, the drag side of this is actually tightening down to the handle side. So it's going to let your handle turn, not the spool. All right, good enough. Just wish I could have gotten a little bit more of that out of there, but I guess that's kind of the varnish or the shellacking effect of that. All right, there we go. Take that off, take this side off. And the next thing I want to do is put this on. So this is your press button down. It's going to go right in that hole there. And that's what you need to pay attention to when you go to mount the side of the reel. Now it may not mount the first time, so spin your spool. And that should enable you to make the case lock in. What you need, wow, that's over tightened. What you need is a nice tight seal. Okay, we have that now. We have the 4 screws that are all the same. So it really doesn't matter which one you put in first. Again, this is a sort of a micro screwdriver event here. So when you get started to work, use your hand as a clamp until you get at least one of them in. Then it'll become a little bit easier to do. Wow. So this is a case where the case itself, the parts tray, helps because, well, what did I forget? Those of you that were paying attention earlier know that I forgot the 2 collars that go high and low here that sort of brace that gear. All right. Now we're back on again. I just glanced into my parts tray and noticed that those pieces were there. And again, that's where pictures would help. So you see them and you say, gee, I see them there. Where did they come from? Well, go back to your pictures. That'll tell you where they belong. Let's try this side now. And what those 2 collars are doing is they're preventing the case from getting over tightened on the front here where that gear is. Your third one. One more. No, 2 more actually. So that's an innovative design in terms of fishing reels. A lot of these are what's called knuckle busters. They don't release the free spool, and when you go to cast these, the handle turns backwards, and well, if you get wrapped in the knuckles, that's the way that the term got devised. But in this case, it's worked where you can release for free spool. Okay, with that side plate secured, it's time to put that drag assembly together. And we start with the star adjuster. And this is a reverse threaded star adjuster, if I remember. So you got to center it. There we go. And turn it on. Bring it all the way down. All right. And we have the tension washer went next. Then our handle assembly. Now I put this together. Handle goes on. Drag washer goes on. Then the collar washer goes on, and the nut. So how is this working, you may ask? Here's your outer piece. That's spinning independent of your inner post, which is going to turn that gear. And what you're doing here is you're taking the outer assembly, locking it onto that inner post with your drag. And as the drag tightens down, that post moves less and less. And eventually, if you're fully tightened, that post doesn't move at all. And that's pretty much typical of all drag systems. They want to lock the main gear, and they want to lock the axle shaft. And that's what they're doing with this. All right, we can just turn this on now. Tighten that down. Just want to make sure we're completely tightened here. You can hold that one piece. Okay, nothing left but the test. So what did we do? We took the reel off. We discovered we have a big nylon gear on the front side of the reel that turns the spool, and also because of the way the gear is set, turns the line guide mechanism. We took the reel completely apart. That's the 4 screws we took apart and showed you the drag system. We showed you how the spools gets mounted, how to do a little bit of a cleanup, how to address the line guide worm drive and the pawl, and how to put it back together again. So let's give it a ride. That turns free and easy. Make sure that your free spool is running. We showed you a little bit about that in the operation. Push that in, and you'll notice that the handle is not turning as we go to free spool. And, well, turn it back in. Make sure that you've got the max drag. You do. It's working nicely. And, well, that's your fishing reel. That is your Sportcast number 1982 by Shakespeare, made in 1962. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please like the video. Again, if you like to see these types of videos, please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, please use that notification button. That'll let you know when I'm posting. And, well, you can make a decision as to whether that's a video that you would like to watch. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, thanking our first responders, our police, fire, rescue, and everybody involved in public safety. And thanking everyone for their time that they took to watch this video, and wishing everybody a great time on the water. Have a great day.